Welcome to the STLK in the UTA Hive podcast. Special episode today. As y'all know, I'm Conjo, and I am here with Creighton starting point guard, Steven Ashworth, one of my good buddies. Thanks for coming on, Steve.
Appreciate you having me. Super fun to be here.
I mean, this is a long time coming.
Yeah, I mean, right when you told us that you were starting a pod, you know, we started kind of scheming about how can we get on it together. Now
I mean, you don't get much time off.
No,
here we are.
Not much time off.
We got a couple days, so we're like, let's squeeze it in. Let's do a nice little morning sesh and get it going. So
yeah, appreciate you flying me out to Utah for
yeah, of course, yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So for everybody that knows, Steven, he's here from Utah. Went to Lone Peak High School. That's actually where I went. We've been friends since 7th grade. I'll kind of touch on that here in a second. But then went to on his LDS mission to Utah State, and then now is at Creighton in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yep, that's the life journey so far.
It's been moving.
Yeah, it has been. It's been a journey, and I think that looking back, if I was in high school, I probably wouldn't have even dreamed of this being where I was or what has happened. But it's been an amazing journey, and wouldn't change any part of it for sure.
See, and that's a perfect transition to where I'm going to go.
Let's hear it.
He might have not have thought that, but I definitely thought that. So, like I said, we've been friends since 7th grade, but in 6th grade, the summer going into 7th grade, I didn't live in Highland where we lived. No. And I went to BYU basketball camp.
I remember.
And the talk of the town was just about this Steven kid, and he played in the upper division, and I went with one of my cousins who was in the upper division. So he'd come home to our dorms every single night and tell us about this Steven kid that was just literally just taking over. And so I was like, oh, cool. And then, the awards things at the end, he wins best in camp, literally just anything you can think of. And then fast forward to 2 months later, we're in a keyboarding class. And
keyboarding, that's right.
And he starts talking about, he's talking about basketball camp or taking his name. I was like, is this the Steven? I remember so clearly walking up to you and being like, are you the Steven from BYU basketball camp? That was who I referred you to. And you're like, yeah, I am. He knew, you knew.
I mean, there's a little bit of I think we were even not even in the middle of an assignment, but you kind of tapped on the shoulder and because the classroom, it's keyboards lined up against the wall, right?
Can literally,
so there's a huge middle. There's a huge middle room, and you walked across. We're like, hey, you Steven from BYU basketball camp? And I'm like,
it was a full circle moment for me. It was crazy. And then turns out he lives literally up, his parents live up the street from mine. And then we just ended up hanging out from that day. And that was literally in 7th grade. And here we are 11, 12 years later.
I know. It's crazy how some friendships start, man.
And so like he said, he didn't think it, but that's all I knew. From that age, I was like, this dude's legit. And then, we just grew up playing with each other, and I got to see it all. So it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So first question, talking about that reputation from a young age, you were the basketball guy. Everybody knew it. But when did you kind of consider yourself, the basketball guy, or when did you fall in love with basketball? Yeah,
I think the most vivid memory of me really okay, this is what I want to do. This is hard, but I know that I can become something like this. I don't even know what the training program was, but my older brother started getting more serious into basketball, and we would come down to Orem at this training facility, and we were doing this full court one-on-one drill, and I was going against some of the older guys, and I was like, holy cow, I'm not ready for this. I was probably in 6th grade. They were all 9th, 10th graders. And it was in that moment that I'm like, I want to get better at this. I want to improve. I want to be able to compete at the highest level. And my dad is a very numbers driven type of guy, very analytical. And so he was like, okay, well, let's put together this workout program that you can do over the summer. So we started 20,000 Shot Club. And what that was is that basically there was this agenda of shots that you'd shoot every day. And if you did it just about every day over the summer, you would eclipse 20,000 shots. And that was kind of the summer where I really started gaining confidence in myself and my abilities and what I could do. And then I saw that translate to on the court in the season. And I think that that's where that kind of really sparked, like, okay, like, you know, I'm getting some interest from the high school coaches caring more about my development, and, you know, he's hearing from college coaches. And so I think that kind of sparked my excitement about it, kind of that 6th grade summer.
Well, I mean, not only that, you had to give up football, because for everyone that doesn't know, this dude was the craziest wide receiver on the planet.
Yep. I loved football. I hated getting hit. And so I transitioned from running back to wide receiver, mainly because the linebackers started getting bigger.
Yeah.
And so, but in 8th grade, that was my final season of football. And then they of course won the championship that very next year. So I was sad about that when I retired.
Yeah, that's how it be sometimes.
Exactly. That's how it be, you know, right when you think you had it, you don't. But football was super fun. I felt like running routes and just my ability to kind of like high point the football kind of came from basketball, just with the footwork and ball handling. And then, you know, watching a lot of shots go up and down. I think you kind of get that trajectory feel for football. So it was fun. You know, I think I could go out and compete a little bit in football. I don't know at what level. Might be high school.
We did some flag football in high school.
That is true.
Hey, we dominated.
We did dominate. AF Rec champs.
Yeah, that was some fun stuff.
Blake Cannon with the lefty arm.
Yeah, dude, he was nasty.
He was nasty with it.
So we go to Lone Peak, right? You know, 8th grade, you know, kind of just dominating. Then freshman, you make the varsity team as a freshman.
Yeah.
That was, and I mean, again, no one's shocked.
Yeah, I mean, that was hopefully.
But that's like that was big.
Oh, for sure.
And not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Lone Peak basketball has always been, you know, really just I don't know if you'd call it blue blood like college basketball, but in the state of Utah, right? And even across the country, you're talking about when it comes to public high schools, Lone Peak has always been, you know, at the top of that. And so I think also back to that 6th grade summer was when I was like, okay, I want to make varsity as a freshman. I saw, you know, TJ Hawes do it. I saw Nick Emery do it, those guys. And those were kind of the guys I always looked up to coming through the Lone Peak pipeline. And, you know, they were even on another level as freshmen. Yeah. Right. They didn't just make varsity. Crazy. You know, they were starting varsity. They were dropping, you know, 30 points a game at times. And so, my freshman year was a little bit different than that. Yeah. We had Christian Papula, Frank Jackson that were ahead of me. And so didn't quite get the opportunity to see the floor my freshman year, but a lot of learning opportunities then. And then I think it really prepared me well for my sophomore season.
Yeah. And so talk about the sophomore season.
Sophomore season was an interesting one because head coach Quincy Lewis decided to go take an assistant coaching job with BYU. Yep. Kind of right about the time that those guys that I'd already mentioned, TJ and Nick, were returning home from their, you know, LDS missions. And so new coach comes in, and then there's some questions, right, of like, you know, what's the new coach going to be like? Yeah. What is that going to do? And so, but I think it also opened an opportunity for me that, hey, this is going to be a new perspective, new view. I can have the opportunity in these next few months to kind of showcase what I can do and what I deserve on the court. And it, you know, flourished into a starting position my sophomore season. And I remember talking with our good buddy Nate Harkness actually about just the opportunity to start as a sophomore at Lone Peak, and basically how that segues you into the opportunity to play college basketball because of the exposure you get. And 3 years of being in a program like that is huge. And so it wasn't easy by any means, especially from that freshman year, wanting to play and everything, and then now getting the opportunity the sophomore year. But that sophomore season was great. Got to play with Frank Jackson. He was really the star of the team that year. And I remember as a point guard, really just throwing the ball anywhere near the basket, and he'd go up and finish it. So
I'm literally just thinking of the inbounds.
Oh,
Viewmont Oop.
Yeah, the Viewmont Oop. I think we had a great one against Leighton.
Yep.
That was big time. And so you really just throw it up there on an inbounds play. Frank Jackson has a nice back cut, and it's a poster for sure.
Well, and it's nice too. I mean, because he's getting exposure, obviously Duke's calling and things like that. And so to be able to be on that same stage and compete, like that's probably like felt pretty good. Like,
oh, absolutely. And I think that especially in the basketball world, when it comes to recruiting or anything that you're trying to get to the next level, exposure is huge. Yeah. Just being able to be seen, being able to be recognized, and then 1 or 2 memorable games can go a long way in those type of environments.
And so walk me through like maybe your most memorable high school basketball game. I have one. for you.
Do you want to share yours?
No, you're going to go first.
Well, I'd probably have to say my most memorable high school game is Geico Nationals.
That same one as me.
Okay.
Same one as me.
So senior year, had opportunity to go to the Geico High School National Championships, which is 8 teams get invited. And it's, the high school committee's job to select the top 8 teams in the country.
I mean, just so everybody knows, this is 8 teams in the whole country. Like, this is not like a big thing. Like, this is 8 selective teams.
Yeah. It's not like it's not even a tournament of 64.
No, it is 8 teams, and that is it.
Yeah, it's making
wild.
I've been to March Madness, and making March Madness is easier than making this tournament.
Yes.
So it was a big deal to go. And we're playing Montverde, Florida.
I love that this is the exact same one that I had.
And we played them the year before, and our senior season was an awesome year. We had games against Oak Hill, DeMatha, Bishop Gorman, like big time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd call it non-conference, but out-of-state competition that we were playing. And then we performed well. And the way that we got invited was we started hearing rumors that if we could go undefeated in the state of Utah, we'd have a chance to get invited to Geico.
Yeah.
And had a great Pleasant Grove team that we had some awesome battles with.
Yep.
That senior season. End up going undefeated, win the state championship, and we get invited. And we're the 8 seed, which, it is reasonable.
You take it.
There's a lot of talented high schools.
I think you just take it.
They get to recruit, right?
Yes.
Nationally, we're just a public high school with a boundary of a square mile radius of probably 5 miles. And so we're going out and we're going to compete. Well, that game, we get down by like 14 in the first quarter.
Well, we're playing Montverde.
Yeah. I mean, they have RJ Barrett. They have Andrew Nemhard. They have Philip Petrusev, who is a guy that went to an SEC school. I can't remember. Basically, 8 of their top 9 guys were going to Division I.
Yeah.
And we had 3 Division I athletes on that Lone Peak team. I was going to Utah State. Then we had Connor playing football
at BYU,
and Max Brenchley playing golf.
Yep.
So only one basketball Division I.
3 D1 teams or athletes, but 1 basketball athlete. That's crazy.
Yeah. And so we're matched up against this Montverde team, and get in at halftime. We're down by about 14, so we kept it close in the second quarter. I had 0 points.
I was just gonna highlight. I didn't want to say it.
Yep.
I didn't know how to say it. I was gonna say your game in the first half wasn't to score.
No, I mean I had probably 5 assists at halftime and some good rebounds, but I was like 0 for 6 in the first half.
I'm driving to Vegas while this game is going, watching it on an iPad.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was when we get to the second half, it was the coolest thing ever.
So, second half comes along, had 0 points. The interesting thing, though, is I do remember coming out of that halftime, and I didn't even really recognize I had 0 points. Like, part of me is just like there's a confidence thing about me that I always feel like I'm impacting the game, whether I'm scoring or not. And I actually remember, like, have I scored? Like, I couldn't quite remember.
And you're committed to Utah State at this point, right?
Yeah. At this point, I'm committed to Utah State, but the coach I had committed to had just got let go.
Yeah.
And so a new coach is coming in.
So it's kind of just open.
My recruitment is open at this point.
Yeah.
And so, like, I could go back to Utah State. Other schools could contact me if they were interested. But also, I was a mission kid. So some schools were a little bit more hesitant to kind of pursue me, knowing that, that coach might not be there in 2 years.
Yeah.
Different things like that. So coming out in the second half, and we're just like, we gotta keep the pace high. We got to hit a lot of threes. And we got to get some stops if we can, because they're tough.
I mean, RJ was scary, dude.
Yeah, he had some left-hand drives that were straight to the rack that he was getting up and dunking over anybody that tried to guard him.
Yeah, he was scary.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why he's in the league, doing what he's doing on the Knicks. But so second half comes along, and in that third quarter, I start to see the ball go in, and it's kind of just like, all right, we're in our groove, we're in our rhythm. Chantry hits a few big shots, and I remember we get it to like 10, then 8, and then they close the third quarter on another run, and so we're down by about 14 again going into the fourth.
And these quarters are 8 minutes long.
8 minutes long. You feel like it's a running clock because you just don't feel like you have a lot of time. But in those 8 minutes, we can get up. We can, I want to say the final scores of most of our games were in the 80s. And so there was a lot of pace to the game that we played. But fourth quarter comes along, and I remember a stretch where I probably scored, 14 straight buckets.
I'm going to throw this up on the screen, just so you know. You can refer to things because I'm throwing it up.
Okay, there's a possession where come down, swing it to JB, I cut through, and I'm all the way back by like coach in like the coach's line, which is kind of close to half court.
It was extremely close to half court.
And RJ Barrett isn't even like, he's guarding me at this point, doesn't even have a hand up. And I shoot it and he kind of like shrugs it off like, there's no way this is going in. Yeah. He turns around and it was nothing but net. And the coach calls a timeout, like all upset. Why aren't you guarding them? And I remember Max Brenchley coming on like past half court and just like giving me the biggest chest bump. Like
it was insane.
It was pretty crazy, but it was an electric game, and I ended up having 29 points in the second half, and a timeout more, and we probably have a chance to hit a game winner. It was tied, and we had to call a timeout because we were getting pressed, and we missed the outlet pass, and then we called another timeout that we didn't have.
Yep,
and that was technical, and was basically the game,
but 29 in the second half is insane. Yeah. I'll never forget that.
No, yeah, it was pretty crazy, and especially to think that it was only in 16 minutes, like not a lot of time on the clock.
Yeah, when you think about it that way, like that's insane. Like 16 minutes, 29 points.
It's probably my most memorable high school game.
Oh, it has to be. Again, that's the first game that I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you can watch that on YouTube, the full game.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've watched it consistently, but I think I do.
I mean, I've tuned back to it just because it's like, wow, like this is pretty sick. And it was in New York City.
It was so dope.
Like it was a really cool opportunity for sure.
And so that like opened up, a lot. That got people talking. You end up still, going to Utah State.
Yeah.
And so walk me through, Utah State. Like what kind of went into that? Did you think about anything else, or what did that recruitment look like as far as, at that point?
Yeah, so I mean, Utah State offered me I want to say beginning of my junior year, they offered me a full ride scholarship, and had been to their kind of summer camp as a team that the college teams will put on some high school tournaments every summer to kind of get some high schools up there so that coaches can watch them and, just have high schoolers around the campus. And so I went up to that, and they were really interested, and they were actually the first D1 school to offer me a full ride scholarship.
Yeah.
And so I'd been recruited by some other schools at this time, but some of them were a little hesitant. One, because of my size, but then also because I was a mission kid. They're like 2 years without touching a basketball. It's kind of scary, to recruit a kid like that.
Yeah.
And I was just really excited about the opportunity to be in Utah, to be somewhere where I was wanted. And then after this Montverde game, new coaching staff, but still kind of the same opportunity, the same dream, the same vision for what I could be, coming back from my mission in 2 years. And so I was really excited about keeping that commitment, go on my mission, come back to Utah State, and COVID hits. And it's like, I have no idea what the season is going to be like. Are we even going to have a season? Because on my mission, that's when the tournament got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're looking at what college basketball is like, what sports is like. We don't even know. What is this virus really going to be and everything. And so,
I mean, I remember when Donovan and Rudy got COVID, I thought they were going to die.
We really didn't know. Like everybody was dying
for the
at this
first
point.
Like little bit. I was like, they're dead. I was like, I remember being so sad. I was like, the Jazz are done. Like we're toast.
Especially with how Rudy was touching all the mics. And I made it that much worse.
I legit was like, we're done. We're toast.
Yeah. So COVID was interesting, but I look back on it and it was actually a huge blessing for my career because the NCAA gave everybody a free year of eligibility.
Yeah.
So I'm coming home from my mission, and you're asking the questions of, should you redshirt? Should you play this year without knowing how many minutes you might get? And that's kind of a decision that every return missionary has to go through and think
Questions
about.
that would be more alarming without this extra year given.
Absolutely, because you can either use that red shirt and you're never going to get a chance to play, even if the team really could have used you.
Yeah.
You don't want to burn that red shirt, especially if you're a few games into the season already. And so it allowed me to have just a free mind of, I'm going to go out, I'm going to compete as hard as I can, I'll earn as many minutes as I can, and then see where it goes from there. Ended up, end of my freshman year at Utah State, starting a few games, playing more than 20 minutes a game, and then that coach leaves. Coach Smith heads to Utah.
Yep.
Get a new coach, Coach Odom, which was awesome. I felt like his play style and just the way that he coached was really good for me. And I felt like, especially my junior season, was really able to flourish and have the confidence of, honestly, in a way, back to where I was in high school.
Yeah.
Like, I had a chance to, in a way, be a go-to guy, be a guy that at the end of games, the team wanted the ball in my hands and be able to make plays. And so I felt like I was really starting to get some of the interest that I wanted, not only from the respect from the college ranks, but also from the NBA ranks and professionally. And so Utah State, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today without the coaching staff and just the community and the support, because Logan is a place where everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
And they're super passionate about their sports and they love their sports.
Yeah.
And it's just you get into the spectrum and it's an environment like none other, with half of the stands are students.
It's loud, man.
And they're going crazy.
That place is sweet.
It's a unique environment for sure, because I think a lot of college places, the number one thing is they don't have that many students that are filling their arenas.
Yeah.
And so you have an arena that big with that many students, it gets crazy.
It gets hectic.
For sure. And so, but similar to my first season, Coach Odom finds another opportunity elsewhere, and he leaves Utah State. And then it's the question again of, where should I go? What's going to be the best opportunity for me? And,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of takes us to where I am today.
Yeah. I mean, every time we would drive up to Logan to watch a game, your dad would say, you can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to make the drive.
That's absolutely right.
And so, like, we'd call it every time. We're like, dude, when's Danny going to tell us this? Like, it was just a lock each time.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was just a 2-hour drive.
Yep.
Like, it was long, but like, it was so worth it. Cause we get to see our dog play basketball. It was way fun. Right.
Uh-huh.
And then, now we're in a predicament where it's not as easy.
Yeah, definitely.
And now I'm
easy.
I took for granted the 2-hour drive.
Yeah, you do, because especially being in person, it's always different than watching it on TV.
Yes, like I get to watch more games because Creighton televises way more than Utah State does.
Yeah,
but like as far as like going to the games, I was like, dude, that 2-hour drive is nothing to the 3-hour flight now.
Yeah,
that it requires, and it honestly takes a lot more. So
it does.
So Creighton Blue Jays.
Creighton Blue Jays. Like,
I mean, we've talked about it, but like, I want to hear about it, not necessarily again, but like dive like a little deeper. Like, what led to opening like the transfer portal?
Yeah,
and why Creighton? And I'll give my 2 cents, because when you open the transfer portal, I think I said Creighton without even knowing that you were in communication with them, just because it felt sweet. So
yeah, I do remember that your message when I said, hey, boys, I think I'm entering the transfer portal. But going back, and with Coach Odom leaving, I think that when Coach Smith left, I didn't enter the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And name, image, and likeness had really just barely started. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But I also felt like I had a pretty good thing going at Utah State and had some great teammates that were staying and committed to staying. And so I felt like this is going to be a good situation. I'll stay. The new coach that comes in will be good. And we'll kind of have this core already that was here last year, so I was comfortable. And when Coach Odom left, I felt like it was just a very different situation. Had a lot of guys that were graduating, and basically everybody else that had played was either graduating or entering the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And so looking at the roster and just the situation, I felt like, especially at Utah State, there's going to be a lot of question marks that I couldn't really answer. And so I felt like it was going to be best to get as much information as I could and enter the transfer portal. And that's what I did. And really right when I put my name in, started getting phone calls, text messages, emails, you know, from a lot of different places. And I felt like Creighton was always just a place that stood out amongst the rest and just felt like it was going to be the best situation for me. Playing in the Big East, playing in a place where I was going to have a lot of talented guys around me. I felt like I was going to be able to showcase what I could do just at a higher level, at a bigger level. And when I was in the transfer portal, that was something that some of the NBA scouts and other, you know, individuals are saying is that, hey, we love what you can do and we love watching you, but we'd really like to see you do it at another level, because that just eliminates even more questions they might have on whether or not you can really make it in the league. Right?
Yeah.
And so weighing all of that in and then just seeing where everything else was at, we felt like, you know, Peyton and I, we felt like Omaha was going to be the place for us and the Creighton Blue Jays were going to be the best situation for us. And it's been amazing. You know, every single season has ups and downs and, you know, we're not undefeated and, you know, that's disappointing at times, right? You always want to win every game you play, but it's just been something where I feel like I've learned so much, I've developed so much, and there's even just more development that I can see in the future coming from it.
Well, I mean, Creighton is known for sending 2 white guys to the league.
Yeah.
Doug McDermott and Kyle Korver.
Yes.
I mean, that's the best reputation you can ask for.
Yeah.
Just 2 white shooters.
Yeah. They send high caliber, you know, players to the league that, you know, fit my mold.
So I'm like, when I saw that, I was like, dude, that's perfect. I'm like, just a white shooter. I'm like, that's kind of all you need. Like, that's what Creighton needs.
Yeah. You know, I'm definitely shorter than those guys, but I also feel like with the ball, I'm a little bit better. So, you know, there's some pros and cons.
Like, if you were to do a 3-point contest against Korver and, I mean, you've hung around Doug?
Yeah. I worked. So I got out in May to Creighton after I committed. Peyton and I moved out there, started getting as many workouts as we could, and just to get familiar with the coaching staff and the players. And Doug was back in town because it was his off season. And so we were working out basically every day in the morning, playing some golf a couple afternoons together. So like it was an awesome summer. And, you know, I feel like I'm a really good shooter, but there are levels to it. And Doug McDermott is an elite shooter.
Like, it's crazy. Because, like, in the league, like, it's just crazy what he obviously everybody knows he's a good shooter, but it just depends on his role. Like, he's not shooting an insane amount of threes for the Spurs right now.
Yeah, and it's like that's the interesting thing about really high level basketball that I feel like a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Is like you can kind of look at a box score and say, "Oh, this guy didn't do anything tonight." But it's like, well, what if his teammate had 37 and his job was to be the floor spacer,
just
right?
a decoy.
And like, you look at a game like Doug McDermott, like he scored over 3,000 points in his college career and won just about every single individual award you could in college basketball. Was Naismith Basketball Player of the Year.
He averaged 27 points as a senior.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I want to say he averaged over 21 his entire career.
No, yeah. That's insane.
It's crazy because you look at especially some of the greatest, like even Jimmer.
Yeah.
He had an unreal junior and senior year.
Unreal.
But his freshman year, he probably averaged 4.5.
Well, and Tyler Haws still has more points than him at BYU.
Yeah. And I mean, that's credit to his great freshman year. Yeah. Kind of like Doug, right?
It's crazy.
To be able to average 21 your entire career and every game you played, you're scoring over 20 basically on average.
Insane.
And then you go to the NBA and people might say, oh, he's just a shooter. But you got to take into account like what that gravity does for a floor spacing perspective. Like every guy that can get to the rack and make a move appreciates when they have a high level shooter because their guy's never helping in the gap.
Well, I remember you sent us a video too of him doing his workout. Yeah. And it wasn't just spot up shooting. He was literally he ran the entire time.
Yeah.
He's just running.
No, his conditioning and cardio on top of his shooting it was unbelievable to watch and to even participate in because he did such a great job of incorporating what game-like shots he would be getting and then doing it consistently for, you know, a minute, 2 minutes at a time, like just full on sprinting. And if you've ever been through a basketball workout, you know breaks are really necessary in order to shoot well. And so to be able to shoot that well and to do it that consistently at that high level of a pace it was incredible.
So if you could go back to high school and develop one part of your game, what would it be?
It's a really good question. If I could go all the way back to high school, I would. It coincides with what I'd be able to do on the court, because I think getting to the rim and finishing would be enhanced by just a more physical frame.
Yeah.
So I would have taken the weight room much more seriously in high school. I think if I were to go back, I would have done a little bit more just on a daily basis to see where I could get a little bit stronger and more physical, because I think my shooting and then my basketball IQ was always there. But being able to kind of get to the rim and finish over and through contact, whether it be like increasing vertical and jumping ability in the weight room or just the physical strength, would be something that I would probably go back and work on a little more.
No, yeah. I like that. See, you asked me that question to ask past guests. And so I was like, and I didn't ask it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to ask it back at you. So, real quick, one last thing on Creighton, like that place is insane.
Yeah.
So everybody, I was recently out there. And we went and watched the Creighton versus Alabama.
Yeah, Creighton versus Alabama. Shout out Ohana coming out.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Like it was way crazier than I thought it was.
Yeah. No, it's an NBA arena. For
It's
sure.
huge.
We play at CHI Health Center.
It's huge.
Downtown Omaha, and it seats 18,000. And the crazy thing about Omaha is Blue Jay men's basketball is basically their professional sports team.
Yeah, because there's no football.
No football, no baseball.
There's no baseball?
No baseball in Omaha. The only baseball
You would think with College World Series.
I know, right? And we got a great
that.
field. Yeah, so no baseball, only college baseball. And so we have an 18,000 seat arena, and we have 16,000 season ticket holders, which is crazy.
That's
so basically
wild.
Every night you have a sellout crowd that love basketball, and now we're into Big East play, and it's
the best part for me about that game was no one around me knew that I was there, to watch you. So
Yeah.
I'm like listening to hear what people say, right? And I'm like, if someone says something, I'm gonna turn around. But like I was waiting in the first shot of the game, you hit the corner three, just cash it.
Yeah.
And the guys behind me were just screaming Cashworth.
Oh,
and I hadn't
really?
heard that one yet.
That's a new one.
Because we say Splashworth.
Yeah, I've heard Splashworth.
We've been saying Splashworth for years.
Yeah.
Utah State, it was like a renowned Splashworth thing.
Yeah, Splashworth was big at Utah State.
I heard Cashworth. I had never heard that one before.
Yeah, I think the only other time I think I've heard that was actually in high school. I think my little brother Cole had the nickname Cashworth because his initials are C.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ashworth. And so, but I mean, I like Cashworth for the basketball court.
Yeah, no, it was sweet. It's
cash.
And so everyone was loving every three you put up. Like they were yelling Cashworth, and I was like, this is sick. Like they don't know who I'm here for. They ended up finding out because I was tended to be more vocal.
Yeah.
And more excited about certain points of the game than others.
Yeah. Reasonably so.
Which is reasonable, but it was fun. I mean, there was legit 10 of us and just all in a row, and it was like that was the funnest thing ever.
Yeah, no, it was super fun to have you guys out there and just have that experience in Omaha. I feel like we can't miss out on the opportunity to share about your guys' little pickup game that you had at CHI.
Yeah, so for anyone listening, we got the great pleasure, and I say great pleasure, like it was legit awesome.
Yeah.
We played against the Creighton managers, as they call themselves, the Manajays.
The Manajays.
Like on the Creighton court.
Yeah.
And I was just wanting to see the practice facility because I thought that was like the utmost we could do. I was like, oh yeah, like let's see if we can get to the practice facility.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, you're going to play at Chai. And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
And so we played a pickup game legit on the Creighton's court.
A few hours before the game.
Versus the Manajays.
Yeah.
We took the dub, obviously. They were not very happy about that.
No, but they had a good time.
It was awesome.
I still get talked about, when your friends coming out again.
No, it was like that was legit an all-time moment for me.
Yeah,
like it was so fun. But like that three is deep.
Yeah, the college three is deep, and the NBA three is even deeper.
No, yeah, the NBA three I knew was deep. I didn't think the college three was like that much deeper.
Yeah,
like you're like I was like having a hoist. I was like, this is kind of insane.
Yeah,
helps the arc though.
It does help the arc, and I think you obviously get used to it over time. But I still feel like when I come home or go to a church that has the high school 3-point line, I'm like, I can't believe JJ Redick shot from this.
It's crazy.
Like, you know what I mean? And in college, I want to say even Jimmy Fredette, his freshman year, played at that line.
Yeah, no,
before they moved
100%.
it back. Like, so you think about that of how
It's like a mid-range now.
it really is. It's a bad 2 if you shoot.
It's a horrible 2.
If you shoot a high school 3,
It's a
bad
horrible
2.
2.
For sure.
So what was that first home Creighton game like?
Man, it was awesome. Like
To go from, I mean, you have to think like I went from Lone Peak, then to Utah State. Like now you're at this like renowned basketball school.
Yeah.
Like the crowd, like what was that like?
Yeah, it was electric, honestly. And I didn't really know exactly what to anticipate because first games of the year are always a little tough because you're typically not playing a great school.
Yeah.
And so some fans might be uninterested, but I think that this team had enough buzz about it and just the excitement for the season and the opportunity to, do something great and do something special together. And so the fans showed out, the students have been unreal. And that first game, just walking out of that tunnel and, even back and forth into our own locker room, and just it's a new atmosphere, it's a new environment, and so in a way you kind of have to get used to it, and you got to, get out the jitters a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's something special and it's awesome, and the fans are second to none there in Omaha.
So I mean, like literally the coolest thing ever.
Yeah,
like I love just turning on the TV. I call my dad each game and I'm like, turn it on, and he's all pumped. Like it's awesome to like see like it from the beginning, like from BYU basketball camp to like at Creighton, then hopefully the next level, and it's so sick.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and I mean like that's what life's about. That's what basketball's about. It's about creating relationships and building those relationships, and so it's always fun to be able to share your success in any field, with your closest friends, with your family, and things like that. And that's something that I feel like I'm super grateful for. Is that just the support I have around me and the community I have around me. Like I have countless people, especially in Omaha, that talk about just the support that they see for me. And it's like, it's true. And I think that at times I might have taken it for granted, the 2-hour drives that people would make to come watch me in Logan. And a flight is different, but still, like, even if they can't come out in person, I get countless texts after every game of just people, who love me, and it's good to, feel loved and feel important. That's what everybody wants in life, right?
And I mean, 3 days before we went to the Bama game, we were in Vegas for UNLV.
Yeah.
And after the game, you had to have 70 people there.
Yeah. No, we definitely did. And
there had to have been 70.
Like, I know that some people had to get back on the road and get to different places. So not even everybody that was there after the game
stayed
was the total number. Like I want to say we got 120 tickets. And so, and then there was other people who got some on their own because they lived in Vegas or different things. And so, yeah, it's a big support group for the Ashworth family.
Dude, like that's awesome.
Yeah, it's big time.
And I love, like, I know everyone.
Yeah.
Just from like these events. Like, I'm like, hey, like, how we doing?
Yeah.
Like, just like people I like only seen at like your family things or at your games. And so it's so sick.
Yeah. It's like an extended friend and family reunion, for some of these games.
Like, I love it. And so like I imagine that's been just like so motivating and so easy to just keep going because you have everyone in your corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, you have to have that in every aspect of life because it's not always going to be sunshine and roses. There's been games even this year where I haven't played great. The UNLV one was one of them.
Yeah.
And so to be able to have that reminder that it's like people love coming to my basketball games because it's a super fun atmosphere. But people don't come just because I'm good at basketball.
Yeah.
Like, they love me and I love them. And there's that relationship once again that we've built. And so I just hope that I can be as supportive to those people that, support me in that way.
For sure. All right, Steve. Before we wrap it up, there's a debate that I chose on purpose because, a lot of the times on the Jazz Pod, it's a lot of agreeing.
Yeah. Two Jazz faithful.
Me and Paul agree on a lot of things. This is something that we've never agreed on.
Okay.
And so I want to address it.
Let's do it.
Again, my bias is going to show here. And so, obviously so is yours.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So Steph versus Magic.
Okay.
For everybody that does not know, Steve will take Steph.
I will take Steph in this debate, and you will take.
I will take Magic 100%.
Okay, we've got our two sides, two teams.
But again, there's a lot of context to this, right? Like a lot of like things to debunk, like Steph or Magic. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like chaos, different game, completely different games,
absolutely,
completely different decades. Yeah, like it's there's a lot to be told.
Yeah,
but like I want to focus solely on like resume.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, if we're focusing solely on resume, I feel like you're also putting yourself in a little bit of an advantage.
Am I though?
Because I mean, if we're talking about complete basketball player and what I want to accomplish with my team, like I feel like we also with this debate have to decide what year am I playing this game? Like,
yeah,
are we playing in 2010? Because I'm sure there's basketball junkies. If you're listening to this podcast right now, like, you're a basketball junkie, or you're one of our best friends, because you want to hear what we talked about.
Yeah,
but like, they've watched those games when Magic is playing, and like, people are coming off of pin down screens for an elbow jumper.
Yeah,
like.
It's totally different.
We're not doing that anymore.
No.
Right? And like the spacing.
We're not even looking at an elbow jumper.
Yeah. But let's start with resume and then let's see where it takes us. So.
Well, and I bring this up because what was the tweet that Paul said and you chose Steph?
So Paul's tweet was more about the modern player. So he said SGA, Anthony Edwards, or Luka Doncic.
And you
like,
three? And you just said Steph. He's not even an option.
Well, the thing was is that it wasn't even like a tweet response. Like he had his own poll. Like, and I could have just pressed one of them, but I just tweeted back to him and said Steph.
Nothing else, just Steph.
Nothing else. And I mean, it's like, yeah, there's some bias because I feel like that's how I also play as a point guard.
100%.
Like I can play with or without the ball. I feel like I provide a lot of floor spacing. Obviously, it's like a completely different level for what Steph does to what I do. But like, you know, you in a way to get better, you always have to be looking at that next level of seeing like what else could I incorporate. And so my thing for that with Steph though is like, yes, he's maybe not a traditional point guard, but for what the NBA asks for today, I don't think there's a better point guard for what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Like his floor spacing, the way that teams have to switch up every single coverage that they guard him. Like you can't come into a ball game and say, hey, we're going to play drop coverage on Steph Curry. Like if you do that, it's a pull up three every time. And so like as compared to with what Magic does and like his floor spacing, like Magic was great with the ball transition. He's a bigger point guard, but like with where the game's at today, I mean, that's why I got to take Steph.
Steph's 35.
Yeah, Steph is 35.
I actually didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
He's old.
Yeah. I mean, if 5 years from now, we're going to be seeing like, is he what LeBron is today?
Like that's insane. So let's just.
But like you feel like Steph's 30.
No, yeah, and I'll give him that.
Right.
So let's go over resume. I'm just gonna go back and forth. Okay. So we have Steph, a 4-time champion.
Yeah.
Magic, a 5-time champion. Mm-hmm. Magic or Steph, 1-time Finals MVP.
Yeah.
Magic, 3 times Final MVP. One being his rookie year.
Yeah, that one was impressive. When I want to say he hurt his ankle.
Yeah.
That.
Well, I think Kareem did.
Oh, Kareem did. He had to play 5.
Yeah, Kareem destroyed his ankle, and so Magic went and played the 5. Yeah. Along with every other position as a rookie.
Yeah. Didn't he have like a triple-double in game? I can't remember.
It's one of those games.
Yeah.
And so that's impressive alone. Then we have Magic, 3-time MVP. Steph, 2-time MVP. Then we have Steph, 9-time All-Star. And we have Magic, 12-time All-Star. Mm-hmm. This is a stat I want to talk about. All NBA first team.
Yeah.
How much does that matter to you?
I mean, it's I would say all NBA is above that of an all-star.
I agree. 100%.
I think the hard part comes in to where it's like LeBron, KD. Like I would say the top 2 teams of all NBA are above that of an all-star for me.
I agree.
Because it's like top 10 guys in the league, that's really tough. And the fact that you have to do it by position, right? Like you can't have Jokic and Embiid. You can't have Durant
it makes you choose.
And LeBron, yeah, like you have to, as opposed to like if I was creating a team, you might have 2 power forwards on the team or 2 point guards. Like
all-stars are tough. Like Reggie Miller, right, is one of the best 3-point shooters of all time.
Yeah.
Jermaine O'Neal has more all-stars than him.
Yeah, I mean, that's
weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Jermaine O'Neal has more all-star appearances than Reggie Miller.
I'd have to look back at the years and see why that is, but that just seems back. Like
it just seems weird, right?
Yeah.
But so all-NBA. If you were to take a guess how many all-NBA first team Steph has, what would it be? The best point guard in the league.
He's got to have the 2 his MVP years, and then I mean, he was on a tear when the Warriors were doing what they were doing with KD. I'd give him, he's got to have 4.
4. Yeah. Nice. 4 all-NBA first teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Magic, dude, that's the problem.
This is since 2009, too. This is what, 14 years Steph's been in the league now?
Yeah.
So Magic only played 12 years.
So he's an all-star every year because he had 12 all-star appearances. Yeah, that's pretty tough.
And so of the 12 years that Magic Johnson played, how many all-NBA first teams do you think he had?
See, the thing is, though, is like in his era, the only other point guard I'm really thinking about is Isaiah Thomas. And I think
John Stockton.
Yeah, but like
he wasn't as
like I'm thinking like in the media too, though,
for sure,
right? Because the All NBA is also like a media thing. Same with All Star.
100%. He's got to
have like 9.
9.
Yeah,
nice. 9.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
No, yeah, that's very, very impressive to be. And like the NBA guys will say it too. Like they'd rather be All NBA, than All Star.
100%. Like,
and like they obviously.
Well, I think all bonuses are all NBA based versus All Star based.
Yeah, which is why Klay Thompson got screwed over for one of his bigger contracts because he didn't earn All NBA.
Yeah,
even though he should.
So like, it makes you think. I mean, Magic also is a 4-time assist leader.
Yeah,
and Steph is a 0-time assist leader.
Yeah, but you also had James Harden and Russell Westbrook that were averaging triple doubles.
Yeah. Like again, there's a lot to like, there's a lot of meat on the bone.
There is a lot. And I think there's a lot that you can go back and forth with like, I would probably say if I had to say whose resume is better at the moment, like Magic's resume 100%. Is better. But I'm saying who is the greatest point guard of all time? Like Steph Curry changed the game, bro. Like Magic Johnson was flashy. He probably saved the game with Larry Bird just because the NBA wasn't that big until, they kind of came around and then MJ and then Kobe, LeBron, like, but Steph
just changes so much.
Steph changed the way even coaches coach the game because it's like everybody started to realize more and more how valuable an open 3-point shot is.
Yeah.
And it's like, you look at the advanced statistics and analytics and it's like, wow. Like what Steph Curry does on the floor is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Cousy back in the day was dribbling out like this and like running in circles.
Yeah.
So it's crazy just how much the game is advanced, and it makes you think like, what in like 20 years, like what is the game going to look like?
Yeah, no, that's a fascinating question. I would also like to see though, like if the current NBA rules were put back into Bob Cousy's time. Like, what would Bob Cousy be doing with the ball in his hands? Like,
I think like, nothing.
Well, yeah, I get that, but at the same time, like, I look back at that and I watch some of the traveling calls that they used to have.
Yeah,
like traveling was much more prevalent. Like, there wasn't a gather step or a euro. Like,
it was a travel.
If you caught it and took 1-2 and laid it up, that's a travel. Like, you had to put it down before you could take your 1-2. And so I'm like,
so technical.
Yeah. So like, I wonder if he's dribbling like that because he didn't have the talent or because he knew he couldn't like carry it a little bit. Like,
well, is he dead?
Yeah, Bob's gone.
Dang. We could ask, but Jerry West is still out there, I guess.
Jerry West is still out there. I mean, he's the logo.
Yeah. I mean, for now. I don't know how you can change it.
I don't know. It's too iconic.
Like, I don't think you can change it, but it's an interesting conversation.
I'd like to hear what the people have to say. Are you taking Steph or Magic? And this is the question I'll end it with.
Yeah.
We're not going resume. You're building a team today. Both of them are in their prime. Are you taking Steph or are you taking Magic?
This is why it's an unfair question. Because today's game, there's a 3-pointer.
What do you mean Magic played with a 3-point line?
Not really. he like did he even shoot threes?
No, I don't think so. I mean, his jump shot wasn't really catered towards a
Because
three.
a point guard that doesn't have a 3-point shot in today's game is useless.
In a way, yes. Like
Useless.
yeah, it's very hard, and everything changes about your offense when you don't have shooters around.
Like it's useless.
Yeah, you need to have a guy that can shoot.
Where back then, like it was so center dominant. Like you could just get the ball to Shaq. Everyone needed a big guy. Now it's not that way. You have to have a guy that can shoot the ball.
Yeah, and teams will be like openly okay with the fact that it's like, yeah, we're not great defensively, but we'll beat you offensively.
Which is so weird because
Like
it's just the opposite then.
The Dallas Mavericks, like with Kyrie and Luka, they're like, we're totally comfortable
Like
playing
I watched
games.
the Lakers Celtics finals in like 2008, and the scores were in the 80s.
Yeah,
Because it was just a defensive battle.
and a lot of twos.
Yeah. So I'm like, nowadays it's different. But Steve, dude, this has been awesome, man.
Hey, it's been great. Glad to finally be on the pod. Glad to be, an active listener of the pod. Love the episodes about the jazz talk. Never grew up a huge Jazz fan, but I think I'm becoming more of a Jazz fan by listening to
You have to be. Hey, we can throw some NBA talk in there too, which makes it interesting.
Absolutely.
But Steve will send me paragraphs after pods
I will.
of like things that I can work on, and it like I genuinely like I love it because it's awesome. I wish more people would understand constructive criticism.
Hey, you guys support me in my basketball dreams. I'm supporting you in the pod dreams. Baby.
Exactly. So it's been awesome. Start tuning in. FS1
is a staple. CBS.
FS1 plays the majority of the games. Creighton Blue Jays.
Yeah, big one Saturday the 30th against Marquette. That'll be a big one.
That is a big one.
Yep.
So tune in. That's what day is that?
The 30th Saturday?
Yeah, so this comes out on the 28th. So that following Saturday.
Yeah.
Perfect. Tune in.
Yes, sir.
So this has been the STLK in the UTA Hive podcast. I'm Conjo with my boy Steven Ashworth, and we'll catch you soon.
Peace out.